Hey everyone, this is Stacy with SF Johnson Consulting and Construction Services. In this video, I'm going to go over the steps and the different modules in our landscaping estimating class. And if this is something you're interested in, make sure you let me know by emailing me at education@sfjohnsonconsulting.com or join one of our member services or one of our member spaces where you'll receive new videos on projects from every realm, from residential, commercial, everything that you can use as a study guide. So let's get started. And this is what I would like to let you know I teach. Well, what is landscaping, right? We're going to put in the trees, we're going to put in the irrigation, and we too, also, if you need to learn how to really read a detailed set of plans, let me know that as well. Now, this is our quick quack where they're doing some site work and redoing the landscape, trees and stuff. And so, yeah, in a landscape plan, you're going to see representations of all of the trees. And the good thing about a landscape plan, you don't have to worry about counts because they will tell you how many. And so that's a good thing. But how do you price it? That's the thing. A lot of guessing going on, but what we do is make sure you have construction industry standard for every aspect of this. And what I found to be very unique in that when I dealt with a few of my landscaper clients is that for the trees, they charge 2 to 3 times as much as their price in the event that the tree dies and they don't have to come out of pocket. So I thought that was interesting. And that's something that only the professional, him or herself, would know. And so let's go over what I'm going to be teaching you in the class. So the objective really is to understand really how to read the site plans and how to read the landscape plans and how to interpret them. Okay, and yeah, we're going to always be able to perform a very quality takeoff. As you know, and I've said many times before, we're working on our own version of a takeoff software for you that will make it much easier for you, just like our eDeck estimators. We have a landscape version we're working on as well. So we're going to make sure you know how to accurately determine all your costs. So when we talk about trees, just like when we talk about underground utilities, it's not only the tree, it's digging out the tree, it's the support for the tree, it's the cost of the trees, right? And all the labor to get it there. And depending on the size of the tree, we have, some, equipment that it will be required other than the shrubs or the flowers or whatever. Okay, so all of those things are important that you pinpoint those and you make sure you're accurate when it comes to that. Okay, so yes, we're going to be able to estimate the labor, the equipment, and any subcontractor costs related to you, which is maybe uh, some plumbing aspect, who knows, whatever you would need. Okay, I'm going to show you how to apply markups, your overhead, your profit contingencies. And what I also have incorporated into all of my estimating classes is a OSHA standard. What does OSHA require for your trade? Okay, we go into very detailed specifications. So you will know not only your direct specification, but what are the other specifications you need to be aware of and you need to review in order to make sure you're doing your job correctly. Okay. Um, so what else are we going to do? Well, of course, we're going to prepare the professional estimate with everything that's going to be on it. And all of my students will have access to my eDeck estimator. And so all you'll have to do is put in the takeoff numbers, and then it'll produce a full estimate for you. Okay. And so for the landscaper, there are scope specific things we need to learn. So it's not only the planting aspect, but we're also talking about the irrigation, which is kind of like a plumbing aspect, if you want to think about it that way, and hardscape, right? How we're going to make it beautiful around all of the areas. And so those are the things that we'll focus on and help the landscaper no. And so let's talk about how we have our classes. This class, and like all of my classes, is all of the estimating classes are unlimited learning because I typically help contractors that are busy, self performers, and sometimes they miss the class for months, okay, or 3 weeks at a time because we only meet as required to go over the projects that we work on together. And they contact me throughout the week if they have any additional questions. I make sure I answer those questions and add new content to the class based on their current situation. Okay, so if it's a phasing issue they're confused about, I'll give them and guide them and give them the direction they need to solve that problem. Okay, and so we meet once a week, although it's unlimited, and my clients and students, they stop when they feel that they're comfortable. And so we could go on for indefinitely, really. And I don't mind that because I'm not cheap, but you do learn and you learn the right way. Okay. And so our first 8 or 9 modules, there's content there that we really have to go over, and I prefer we go over together and you are tested on that as well as working on the projects. And so, what we week one, it's the introduction to the landscape estimating process. Okay, what are the different types of landscape projects that we could be doing? Okay, we're going to go over master format, the division 32, which is specific to landscaping. That is the exterior improvements division, and that's specific to landscaping. And then we'll go over all of the other ones that would apply. Okay. Let's go over also making sure in detail you understand the flow of the specifications. Okay, what's included in your scope as a landscaper and what's excluded, what you don't include, and make sure that it is clear. Okay, we make sure you understand the bid packages and what they're asking you for and how you submit that information. That's week one. Week two, we go over plan reading, okay, and making sure you understand every aspect. Where are your landscape plans? What set are they? And if you had to use, do you know how to go to the architectural set and for what reason? And do you know how to go between sets if that's necessary? Okay, so we'll go over the legends, abbreviations. Okay, and identifying, make sure we can identify the planting, the trees, the irrigation, any special elements that may be comprised within the plans. And then let's go over our how we're going to do the markups and all of the takeoffs. Okay. And so, yeah, what I also go through is the phasing because that tends to be an issue with my clients is, how do you phase out a landscape project in a proper way or at least in a best practices way? Okay, and then week three is all of the takeoff information. So, how do we do the takeoffs for the trees and the shrubs and the planting beds, all of the dirt, the sod, the mulch, okay, the irrigation system? Are there decorative elements in like benches and lighting? And how do we uh, coordinate that with the electrician? Okay, and all of that good stuff. So takeoffs are week three. Week four, we're going to go over labor, material, and the equipment that would typically be used by the landscaper. Week five, markups, overhead, and profit. Now, regardless of the trade, those things are standard, and I go over with the landscaper what they need to look at and how important that is to make sure that you incorporate that. It's not just you doing the work that day. There are outside costs that are outside of all of the material and labor and equipment associated with that project. There are costs outside of those that absolutely influence what you're doing on that project. So yeah, the staff for the day, the subs for the day, all of that is your overhead, your storage, all of that is part of your overhead that you need to really understand. It is a vital part of your pricing and you should know how to incorporate that in each project. That is week 5. Week 6, we finalize the estimate and the bid submittal. How do we do that? Okay, we're going to create a professional estimate, of course, using either our eDeck product or an Excel spreadsheet, whichever you choose, and go over the bid forms and clarifications, making sure what's included, what's excluded, okay, finalizing all of that stuff, okay. So this is a 6-week module course for the details. And then we always work on a project together. I work on my end, you work on your end. We meet together to make sure we have the same thing. Okay, the takeoff is important. So I break down all of my classes. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 1, the detailed takeoff, reading the specifications, knowing what should be in that takeoff, because there are things in the specifications that are not shown on the plans, and it's important to understand, how to look at both. And you may have a takeoff in your specifications that you don't see on the plan that you may forget if you don't review the specifications. So that's step 1. Step 2, pricing in man hours and all of the overhead and all of that that's associated with that. And then step 3 is producing the finalized professional estimate that you want to submit to a GC or a homeowner. And so, in a nutshell, we work on and on and on. We have our own sample projects that we work on, and we also work with our clients on their projects. Now, sometimes we're on time to get it on time. Sometimes we work on ones they did in the past to see if their man hours were correct or if they shorted their 7, which is usually the case. And so, if this is something you're interested in, if you're a landscaper and that you're kind of out there guessing every time someone asks you what the price of something is, this is a great way to increase your skills, do better, and we would love to be able to help you. This is Stacy with SF Johnson Consulting and Construction Services. Been doing this for 15 years. Love it, and I can't say more. Make sure you join me at a class at our website, sfjohnsonconsulting.com. Here on YouTube, we're going to begin again Coffee with the Queen, which is on Sundays, where I'm going to be presenting some tips that I think you can use. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and I'll talk to you soon.